This is Two Chicks Talkin Flicks, where we review movies. Love them or hate them, someone's got to do it. So enjoy the show. Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is Two Chicks Talkin Flicks and anything else that gets in the mix. And today I am here with Steph from Turn Off the Millennials Podcast. Hi, Steph.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your podcast?
Yes. So it is Turn Off the Millennials Podcast. I do it with my longtime friend, Lindy. Basically, we are elder millennials, so we didn't fit specifically under 90s or 2000s. So we decided to create our own decade, the Turn of the Millennium decade, which basically falls between 95 and 2005. So we kind of our main coming of age years, because I was between 10 and 20, basically between that year. So, and she was 12 and 22. So it was like a perfect little year. And we talk about anything in that time.
That's awesome. I too am an elder millennial.
Right.
But I feel like I'm like the lost world in there, because if you look at certain demographic, if you Google it, sometimes it'll say 83 is not a part of it. So I'm not a part of the generation before, but I'm not a millennial. So I'm like,
which is funny. Yeah. Cause when we were, originally for the longest time, we were just Generation Y. We weren't even called millennials.
Right.
And I always thought millennials were what was Gen Z coming out, but no, apparently it was us.
Yeah.
Weird me.
Same.
And then, back then it was 79 to 95. And now they've made it 81 to 96. And they keep moving these lines. And I'm like, let's just make it a hard 1980 to 1995. Let's just keep these numbers even. Come on.
Yeah. Why it have to be so weird? It's very strange.
Right.
But yeah, I'm an elder millennial, and, but I had an older sister. So I feel like I understand stuff from before my time.
Yeah.
And at an early age of, in the 80s. And then, but I also get the newer stuff that my sister has no idea what's happening.
Right. My sister was 83, and we had a cousin who I think was 78 or 77, born.
Yeah.
And so she was exactly that little bit older of influence. So we got the hand-me-down influence of her, of feeling we're a little older than the other kids.
Yup. Me too. I mean, I was 83, my sister's 78. So.
Right. Exactly. Same dynamic. 100%.
Yeah. And then our aunt is 5 years older than my sister and 10 years older than me. So, we saw her a lot. So I just feel I could go either way.
Yeah,
honestly.
Either way.
Well,
however, I can't go down. I've tried the lower down, the younger generation, because I was actually in school this past year. Mm-hmm. And the older Gen Zs are they're nice and all, but you can definitely tell they're young. They're definitely a different generation, and that's okay. And I've accepted that.
It's bizarre.
It's hard to also hear that you were born the same year I graduated.
Right?
I think that's my main issue with their generation.
Oh, it's awful. I don't remember who I was talking to, but they said something and they're like, yeah, I wasn't even born yet. And I go, wait, what? They're like, yeah, I wasn't born until 2003. I go, I already graduated high school. Get out of here.
Oh my God. Right?
Get out of here, kid.
Get out of here.
We talk about that a lot on this podcast, about the younger generation. And my co-host, she has two ways of thinking. Either A, she's like, leave them alone. It's not their fault. And then other times if someone did something, she's like, can you believe this? They don't know this. I'm like, I know.
Right. I always say it's bad parenting, because I feel like my dad was very someone who taught us about his music and taught us about old stuff and really educated us about pop culture. So I feel like it's terrible parenting.
Right. Yeah. Cause sometimes my parents are like, how do you, we used to be on a trivia team. That's why we started this podcast, because COVID took that away from us. But while we were on the trivia team, songs would come up that were from the 60s, 70s or whatever. And I would know the answer. And they're like, how do you know that? I'm like, why don't you? Why am I carrying us?
Right? I feel like that's me and my sister for sure. Like, I feel like I would always in my 20s try to play like these trivia games and things like people, and then I would just like blow them out of water. So I ended up having to stop playing trivia. So I feel like my trivia game is like a little below par because I had to basically stop playing because I kept beating everyone.
Yeah. And then, if you talk to like a kid nowadays, they're like, I don't know what that is. I don't know who NSYNC is. How do you not know who NSYNC is? Come on.
The TikTok girl that spelled it out? Yeah, she didn't even know it was NSYNC. She's like NSYNC. And you're like, what?
Right.
What did you do? What did you just say to me? What did you just say out there, girl?
Or the girl who couldn't say bagel. She kept saying bagel. And I still call them bagels now because I was so befuddled that she couldn't say the word bagel.
I don't get it.
Now they're bagels to me. Well, we decided to do Grandma's Boy, which is would you say a stoner classic?
Absolutely. 100% stoner classic.
I forgot
our generation stoner classic.
It is.
Right.
Like, for some reason in my head, it was newer. And so when they had like a flip phone, I was like, oh, dang, this is before smartphones.
Right. So this movie, when it came out, like it was 2006.
Yeah.
So it was actually after our timeline. So I'm not sure we might do it for like a birthday. On our birthday episodes, we do stuff outside of our timeline. And like this movie was the movie of my 20s. Like I made all of the boyfriends I dated watched it. If they didn't like it, they couldn't date me. Like it was, I loved this movie. It was my favorite and it was so good.
Yeah. I thought I owned this movie, so I was very confused when I couldn't find it because I'm pretty sure I've seen it more than once. And, but I have no idea where it is. And so I end up having to rent it on Amazon. But I do remember liking this movie. I love Nick Swartzen. He's so funny to me. I love his stand-up.
Alan Covert, Dante, like all of them together, and this is just great. Well, they're also like Adam Sandler, like friends, people almost, and it is so good.
Yeah, and I was I forgot that Jonah Hill was in this, and so I was like, oh hey, it's Jonah Hill.
I know he's so little. You're just like, oh my god, like.
But yeah, so this was in 2006. It's basically, we have our main character, Alex. He gets kicked out of his apartment because his roommate decided to buy hookers instead of paying rent. Oh. And so he has to find a different place to live. And after trying another option, he goes and ends up staying with his grandma and hanging out with her friends. Yeah, and then he is a beta tester for video games, and they have a new game that's coming out, and they're all supposed to kind of help with it. And then we have JP, and he is different and tries to steal his idea.
I guess that's what you could call him.
And then Alex wins in the end. And gets
because grandma beat JP's butt in video games.
Right.
Like, what? It's so my grandson's game.
Would any other grandma like do that? My grandma wouldn't. She wouldn't have played the video game, first of all.
I mean, my grandma she didn't play it. So I remember like when my parents got divorced, we would spend like every other weekend when my dad had custody at my grandma's house. So this one kind of hits a little bit sometimes for me. Because my grandma, we had Nintendo 64 at this time, really big when our younger years. Gotta love that 64, Mario Kart forever. And I remember, like, she didn't play it, but I do remember when Making the Band came out, every Friday, we would watch the show with grandma, obviously, of course. And then when the video came out, it was on Much Music, and she's like, oh, aren't those that boys from the TV show, the O-Town, the Town Boys? And I was like, Grandma, are you serious? Like, you know that's them? I'm like, good on you, Grandma. That's why you're awesome.
That's amazing.
So in her own little way, she had her like little helping us moment type thing.
I remember one time my grandma, I was up real late working on something, and I was staying with her when I first moved here to Texas, and she was making something and she was dancing, and I'm like, what is happening? She's like, the chicken doesn't fry if you don't dance. All right, Grandma.
Oh, that's so cute.
Do your little dance.
I love it.
Let that chicken fry.
That chicken fried.
So
fried.
Clearly you love this movie. What is something that stands out that you just love about this movie? Any particular scene?
So much. Oh my gosh, so many. Like, so in the 2006, when we had these awesome, like you said, flip phones, we got to customize our ringtones.
Right.
Like text ringtones, your regular ringtones. I used so many of these lines for my ringtone. Specifically, you're a hooker.
Mm-hmm.
New high score. What does that mean? Is that bad? And then your shit's weak. Weak. So when those ones came up, I was just like, oh, where's my phone? Like I was literally like grabbing my phone whenever I heard those noises because I was like, text message.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, I actually put down specifically the new high score. Is that good?
Not bad. Did I break it?
Is it bad? Oh God, he's
like
so
you said,
funny.
there's just at the beginning, you're a hooker. And then like the original where they're playing, not just in the 360, it was the OG Xbox they were playing.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, that hit, the black and green one, that hit the feels. Because what are we on, Xbox 27 now?
Yeah,
I'm not even sure.
Who knows?
Well, yeah.
So why would you ever trust that friend who can't even keep his eyes open to take the money to give it to the landlord? Did that sound like something you should do?
Right? Like,
he's a smart guy. He should know his friends.
Right. You should know your friend, like, especially the one you're living with. Like, you should know your roommate much better. You should know, like, be like, oh, where is he? He's spending all this time at Filipino hookers, Madame Kame's Filipino Palace. Sorry. Like, where, like, wouldn't you ask him where he's been the last, like, 6 hours, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because Madame Kame was going to let him stay at the palace now that they don't have a place to live. So clearly he spent many hours at this place.
And what's weird is that we, like, never see that friend again.
It's true.
Not even at the party.
Why.
You would think he'd be at the party scene, or at Dante's smoking a bowl.
Oh, yeah. He's not in the party scene.
Yeah, no. Not that I remember. True. I mean, maybe he's in the background, but I don't remember seeing him.
Yeah. Dante is a great character. I'm not brown. I'm bronze. And you never throw a bomb, kid. Like, he's just got so good.
I feel like he's the same character in every movie, though.
He really is. Like, just that kind of spacey surfer, I don't know, guy.
Except for in Daddy. That's the only one that he was not like that. He
Waterboy at first, too.
I guess so at Waterboy. But I was thinking,
because he calls him Needle Dick.
He was kind of he was a gay lawyer in the other movie.
Yeah, gay lawyer.
But other than that, when like something I clocked, but I didn't really like think about is that every time we see him, he gets another ponytail. And so he starts with his hair down the first time we meet him. And then after that, he gains a ponytail each time. And
the party scene, it's up on like the top of his head or whatever.
Yeah. And by the end of the movie, he has 5 of them. And I noticed, but I didn't like clock it. And then I read it on IMDb and I was like, oh shit. Yeah, he did.
that one I didn't notice. But that's the one thing I find I love about this movie is there's something every time I watch it that still pops out. And I was like, man, I never noticed that before. Yeah. How have I watched this 100 times and never seen that? Like the posters on the back where it's like, Canada Must Die video game and like Adrian's Quest or whatever. Like, they're so funny on the back.
So one of my favorite parts is when he shows up at Jeff's house, and he says, "You got to be quiet. My roommates are sleeping." He goes, "You mean your parents?" Oh,
yeah, my roommates are home. My roommates are thinking about buying me a CB radio so I can talk to other car beds.
They're gonna put rims. Get me rims for Christmas. My bed's gonna be sick.
Right? Fucking sweet car. Like it's just, and then he's like, you can sleep on the air mattress, and it's like this tiny mattress you do use in the pool that like has no support whatsoever.
You know, for some reason, I thought that mattress, while he was sleeping on it, deflated. And then I was like, I guess that happens in a different movie, but I know I've seen it. And I was waiting for that part to happen. And I was like, oh, I guess that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Instead, he grabs Laura Croft, jerks off to her, and then skis on the mom.
Yes. Oh, you jerked on my mom.
I like he's like, this is awful, but it feels so good. I can't stop.
I can't stop going.
It feels so good.
Oh, God.
So funny.
You couldn't wake me up to play video games. You were balls deep in your turtle with a thumb in your mouth. I love my turtle.
And so then he goes and stays at work because he's too embarrassed to stay at the house.
Anywhere else.
That's when we meet Samantha. And she is
by
the new...
Linda Cardellini.
Yes, from Freaks and Geeks.
Yes.
See, I don't remember watching Freaks and Geeks, but I do remember watching her on ER. So I remember her from that.
For some reason, my sister had Freaks and Geeks on DVD, and I don't remember why she had bought it early, but for some reason she had it. And so I kind of remember from that. But I never remembered that, like, Jason Segel was in it.
Really?
Until I watched it, like, recently.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he's like low-key in a lot of stuff that you just don't notice.
Can't hardly wait.
Yes.
The watermelon guy.
He's the best. Presto.
Right? Scooby-Doo. Different movies.
You know who didn't get much play? Velma from Scooby-Doo. And you want to know who plays Velma?
Linda Cardellini. Bring it on back.
Yep. I mean, small world.
Small world. So good.
So they have a boss, and I don't know who's more tan, him or Dante. Do you think they go together? I mean, he's his
he gets his weed from him, so they must be. Maybe they just get too high and go tanning together.
Like maybe they get baked and they fall asleep, and that's why they get too tan.
They are in California, so yeah, that would make sense.
Actually, I kind of feel like Dante probably just has a tanning bed, or the boss does. Like they seem like people who would have one.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so they get baked.
He has enough money to buy a lion, a monkey, and an elephant.
Yeah.
So a tanning bed couldn't be that much of an expense for him.
Right. I mean, clearly he uses it. But yeah, I love that that's a throwaway line. Like, you are Dante. Like, who's else? You look familiar.
You do. Oh, hey, Mr. Cheezel. Which is funny because in my 20s, like I always thought Mr. Cheezel was like this weird yoga hippie, a lovely dandelion blend and all of this. And it's like, I got to my 30s and I was like, hey, he's not so crazy. Like a little bit of yoga, maybe some mindfulness is not entirely out of the question.
Right.
And it's funny, like watching this. So again, like Alex, you're watching this again. I watched this in my 20s and I'm like, yeah, I was basically like Timmy and Jeff sort of age, like a 20-year-old punk kid, probably working whatever.
Yeah. And
then now watching it, being Alex's age, because he's 35 years old and we're, a little bit past that, but we're essentially around that age.
Yeah.
You're just like, man, it's definitely a different, I'm like, but I see why he left accounting to go into video games.
Right.
But then you be in the corporate world for a while, you're like, screw this, I'm out. Like, it's crap.
It does suck. Well, and I clocked that he said he was 35, and I was like, in what world are you 35, sir?
Right?
You're like, closer to AARP. Come on.
Oh, yeah. No way are you 35 in this movie, but we'll take it, I guess. Sure.
So then we meet JP, And he obviously, they make the joke that he's like Neo from the Matrix. Nowadays, I don't think they would have this character, or if they did, they wouldn't bully this character the way that he gets made fun of. But I feel like he brings some of it on himself.
Right.
But nowadays it would just be because he has, autism, or he's on the spectrum
somewhere. We would learn that it's probably on the spectrum. Because he said he is a prodigy. So usually a lot of autism kids tend to get to like super focused on one particular topic. That would make sense.
Yeah. But it sounds like he just steals people's stuff. Like, do you think that that's how he became a prodigy? He just stole somebody else's work?
Right. Eternal Death Slayer was stolen because he stole Alex's. So why wouldn't he? Yeah.
Or he just ran out of ideas, maybe?
Because even when Kane goes in and says about the elves or whatever, just change them a different color on the other level, and he steals that idea as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know what you mean. Like, it kind of seems like sometimes he does bring it on himself.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Where do we draw the line of it being possibly on spectrum and then,
That's why,
okay, we understand why he does it.
Nowadays, I don't think they would have written it that way. So, he would have just been a jerk, or he would have been on the spectrum and people were like, don't mess with him. He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. It's just how he is.
Yeah.
It's just JP. It's him,
Yeah, it's just him. And then we have, I put that Jeff is the best hype man when they go and they play the video games during their break.
Yes. Look at me. I'm catching more flies, catching more than you. You'll shoot.
Did you see the score was 420?
Yeah, of course. And then I love it, like, at the end when they leave work at this time, like, Timmy's got the little electric scooter, and I had to note that Timmy was way ahead of our time, because here we've got electric scooters, and, like, e-bikes have become, like, a huge thing. Everybody has them. So I just thought it was funny that he was, like, 20 years ahead of his time.
Well, and also, JP is going on a, one of those... Segway, yeah. Which I didn't think that was a thing before smartphones. So I was sort of surprised by that.
Yeah.
I was like, they have a
It's funny going back and watching, like, how we didn't realize, like, which technologies were out. Like, our concept of time of when things got released is so different now as we're older.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Like, I didn't think that was out around the same time. Oh, those were out at the same time? Oh, my God. Yeah. Weird. Like getting old thing.
So one thing I thought was really funny is I just made this joke to somebody like 2 days ago before I watched this movie, and they said, "Hey, Samantha, don't take the red pill," when she goes to talk to JP. And I literally just said that to somebody because they told me they were watching The Matrix, and I was like, well, don't take any random pills or like a red or a blue pill or something like that.
Don't take the red pill.
I just thought, oh, that's so funny. I just made that joke, and I've never seen The Matrix, but I know about Neo and I know about the pill.
Well, and that's the funny thing that kind of goes with pop culture. Like, once, like, you're a teenager during the time, you may not see the movies, but you know all about it, because whether it was, shown in a behind the scenes in the commercials, someone at school was talking about it, you just kind of learned what the movie was about. Yeah. So you're like, oh, I don't have to go see the movie.
I was having this thought this morning, and I was like, I wonder if there's anybody who's never heard of or never seen and never been told the plot to A Sixth Sense. And I was like, I want to watch that with them.
Ooh.
To see what they, like, if they figure it out,
I feel like if you get a younger Gen Z, you might be able to get away with that.
Yeah. It just depends on if they've seen it on TikTok or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. What a twist.
Like my parents watched it before I watched it. And so they watched it with me, and they kept going, oh. And I was like, what?
That's the one thing I don't like sometimes about watching a movie with someone who has already watched it.
Yeah.
Because I have Lindy has done this a couple of times. She's watched a movie before, like me and say one of her friends, and then as we're watching it, she'll either like do the same thing where it's like, oh, or she'll sit there and watch you to see what your reaction is. So you're like, okay, what's going to happen? Because you're watching me for some reason.
Yeah.
And then so it kind of like gives the movie away, or like gives away that suspense or that like surprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
as long as you're stoic, good.
Like The Sixth Sense, that was like the biggest cinematic secret ever
at the time. Yeah.
And you know, like I had no idea what was happening, and they just kept going, that makes so much sense. And I'm like, what makes sense? Like, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing?
What do I not know yet? Tell me.
So it took me out of the movie a little bit because they wouldn't shut up.
Right? Exactly.
So, yeah. On to this movie.
Yeah. So basically he's told that he's staying with a girl that he knows.
Yeah. And her two roommates.
And her two hot roommates or whatever. And that's his grandma and her two friends. Kind of like almost like a Golden Girls situation. Apparently this seems to be a thing, I guess, as women get older. They do like a roommatey Golden Girls situation.
Well, I love that he says this chick he knows for many years and her two roommates.
Yes. Yeah. Chick for many years. And then I love when he goes inside that she has the spoon collectible shelf. I feel like every grandma of that time had a spoon collectible something.
Oh, yeah.
Like, however, I thought about it. If this was filmed now, what would that collectible be for the boomers as grandparents?
Be those jars that have that weird vegetables in it. You know,
or maybe like roosters.
Yeah,
they
roosters.
Had like the jars with the roosters on them. That was a big thing for them.
Yeah.
But I was just like, yeah, what's a weird collectible that boomers would have?
The red kitchen with like the Italian flair.
Yeah.
So I love how he asks, did she die in the bed? She's like, no, she fell on the floor and she died right there. And he's like, no.
That's not any better. It's still the same room.
And then I love how his grandma comes and creeps him out at night. Scares the
crap out. That's one awesome grandma. Can we say that? Like, who else would scare the shit out of you like that in the middle of the night?
I love it. Like, one of my favorite things to do is to scare people. Like to just pop out and just terrify them, especially if I didn't do it on purpose and I scare the crap out of them. That's the best.
Yep. Nice.
So to have his grandma do that to him is amazing.
And then in the morning when he's like, oh, it's 6 o'clock. He's like trying to get the alarm going off because it's 6 o'clock. And she's like, have some breakfast. And then she's like, oh, we'll just have some light chores for you to do.
Right. And like, he said he didn't have to be to work for like 3 hours. They're in California. Right? So, okay, it would take you that long just to get to work.
Right? Like the traffic is ridiculous in California. Come on.
Yeah. Like, now if he had woken up at 4 a.m., that would make more sense, I guess.
Agreed, yes.
Let's see here. Oh, I love Miss B, which he's explaining the video game to his grandma, and then she goes, space shuttle. He goes, yeah.
She's so funny, like would be.
I don't know why I like wrote that one down, but that just struck me as so funny, and I laughed.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President.
She's so crazy.
And then, I think Shirley is it Shirley the other one? I just keep calling her for Shirley. I think it's Shirley MacLaine who plays her.
Yeah, she plays Grace.
But the other, yes, Grace, that's the name.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Grace. And she's like, oh, my grandson's gay. I'll give him your number.
Yeah. I love that
he's like, I'm not gay, but okay. Yeah. She just have a girlfriend and they're like, my grandson's gay too. I'll give him your number. But I love how she was just nonchalant about it too. She wasn't like, I don't give a shit. She was like, yeah, he's gay too. I'll give him your number. Why not? I'll set you up.
Let's do this.
Right?
Would you want your grandson to date him?
Well, I mean, after what we find out about her later on in the movie, about how, like, you know, the Hollywood romp around she's done.
That's true.
You kind of are like, well, I kind of expect that from her.
Yeah, she's slept with over 3,000 people. So.
Right? Including Don Wrinkles and Don Knotts or whatever.
And she may have come up with tickling or putting a finger in the butt, right?
Yes.
They're not for sure about blowjobs, but she definitely came up with the finger in the butt. She definitely
came up with the finger in the butt, yes. When she did too.
Oh, God.
I want to get you a cobra for just around the neck. JP said that to Samantha. Just the random things he says are just
so
hilarious.
Weird.
So weird.
So uncomfortable.
There's a symposium for nanotechnology. I gotta work. Well, yeah, I think that should be a memo. You should send that out ASAP.
Like, I wonder if whoever created the character of Sheldon from Big Bang, I wonder if they saw this movie and was like, yes, that's the prototype for what Sheldon will become, because it's very similar. They talk about themselves and all their accolades all the time. And just like their biggest fan. They're their biggest fan. And it's
right, no one can talk about them better than themselves.
Yeah.
I think so. Like, yeah, he definitely seems like a prototype for Sheldon for sure.
Yeah. Tall, gangly, brilliant, you know, those kind of things. But exactly. Sheldon would have never stolen other people's ideas.
He still had integrity. This is true. Because he grew up in the South. His mom put good values in him. Mm-hmm. Let's be real.
And his nana.
Whereas JP, right, and his nana. Whereas JP, he may have grown up in California and they got loose morals in California.
Yeah. So I love that his grandma cleans his bong and then puts flowers in it.
Puts flowers in it. Oh, there was a break in the Antiques Roadshow marathon, so I cleaned it for you.
I love that they get addicted to the Antique Roadshow.
Right, he brings cable and they get addicted to it. Oh, it's just so funny. And then he buys them tickets to go just so he can get time to play his game.
And then they don't even go because they're too high.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good. And where'd you get the tea? Oh, it was Sophie's. I just thought it'd be nice to drink it in her honor. Grandma drank my pot. And I love when he comes home from Dante's and he's like, a roommate who goes shopping, the thighs, the breast to go with the thighs. I don't know what you are, but I'm going to fucking eat you.
And the breadstick.
Like, it was just the greatest moment of like all this food in the fridge and like just like, oh, stop, finally, food.
I love that he puts it all on one pan and then just puts that whole pan in the oven at 450.
I know.
You cook turkeys at 450. You don't reheat leftovers.
Although I love it. He's like, of course she doesn't have a microwave. She's fucking 100.
And then you don't leave and go smoke a bowl while your food is cooking. I couldn't exactly remember what happened. And I was like, oh no, does he burn down her house? That's all I could think.
Burned his hands. Yeah,
just didn't burn his hands.
And then he couldn't do his levels for a couple of days until his hands healed.
Mm-hmm. But what we do find out is that Jeff is amazing at Dance Dance Revolution.
Yes, he is.
And this guy thought he was going to be able to beat him, and he was not. He lost. He's a loser.
It was funny watching him do it, too, because he's just like, one step, one step, one step. And it's like, thinking he's so good. And he's like, yeah. And then Jeff's like, oh, okay. And then I love, like, he does this crazy. And then he ends and he's like, with his hand over his face. Like, just like that is, oh, Jeff, you are great. Mm-hmm. Hilarious.
I would have not eaten at a wheatgrass place. That would not
have happened. The vegan place with David Spade?
Yeah. I'm like, can we go get a burger? Can that happen? It'll be cheaper.
Tommy Burger's around the corner.
Yeah.
Guy Blow. We have shots of wheatgrass.
Ugh.
Yeah, if you want to be sober and vomit.
That is exactly what would happen if you made me drink that.
Right?
So I had this thought while I was watching the movie that this is kind of like Billy Madison, Old School, The Internship, and Life of the Party, like all rolled into one. Like I love those movies where older people go and they're hanging out with younger people, because they always find common ground, and I kind of like that these movies all show that same vibe.
Honestly, so true. Like when I was around like 25, I would take my grandma on Tuesdays down to the hall. If you wanted to go to the hall, they'd have dinner and then they'd do karaoke. And like, yeah, literally hanging out with like 80-year-olds and eventually, you find common ground. However, I did also learn that once you retire and get to like 70, you start to revert back to childish ways. Mm-hmm. Because like the drama and the gossipy biddies, and like because obviously at that point, unfortunately, your husband starts to die, so they start to maybe go towards some of the other available men or whatever, and then they're like, "Oh, did you see that person was with that man? Oh my god!" And I was just like, "My dear Lord, Grandma, this is worse than high school. I'm 20, and I like what?"
Yeah.
So I just thought it was funny that you like. For some reason, as you get older, you almost revert back to your child state, which is funny.
Well, that's
but
why,
you have the wisdom.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's why, like chlamydia and stuff is so rampant in senior care homes or senior living homes.
I was actually watching a video on weird history yesterday morning, and it was talking about like weird places in the States or whatever. And one of them was the Villages, Florida, and it's apparently this retirement community where it's like. STDs were running rampant, and then one of the things was like, if a teen does it, we're doing it, and they're like snorting coke and stuff, and I was like, what is going on with these old people? Oh my god!
There's a comedian that said that he had a show, and it had like really young people, but then it had really old ladies. And he's like, trying to figure out what kind of material would work for both. And so he talked about tests. He's like, sometimes you got a big test coming up, and you want to pass that test. And he tried to make it work for both sets of people, which is true because college kids have tests. Elderly people have tests. They got to pass.
A different kind of test, but a test.
And I was like, that's so clever.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
So
speaking of old people, they call him Graybush at 35.
Well, we all know he was way older than 35, right?
Right, absolutely. We all know he's got to be, but they're classing him as 35 in this movie. Yeah. And I'm sorry, it's not Graybush at 35. Not quite yet. Like maybe gray hair's coming out, but not quite down there. Yeah, come on.
Well, it depends. My mom started going gray in her hair at 18, so.
This is true.
I've not taken a good look at her bush.
Right. Not really something I want to investigate my mom's own bush hair, if it's gray or not. Never bothered to ask either if how it changes colors,
But my dad
is better left unknown.
His hair on his head didn't start going gray until his 60s. So, I don't know about the nether regions. I've never asked or looked, but I would imagine that that's probably goes great.
Pretty good for a while,
Yeah. I don't know if it starts from the head down or the under and up.
Push up?
I had to.
Right?
Push up. I don't know.
Men, anyone out there, let us know.
How long does it take for the carpet to match the drapes? That's what I want to know.
Right? And what about men who have bald heads? Then what are we? What's going on there? Do they also lose it down there? No. Woo! Yep.
So I had this thought when watching this movie, and I know it's brought up in 2 movies, but I don't know if it's brought up in any other Adam Sandler movies. Mm-hmm. How many times do they reference Frankenstein in his movies? Because they talk about it in this one. They talk about it in Big Daddy.
Yep.
And I wonder if they talk about Frankenstein in any of his other movies. And I feel like they probably do.
Well, he was in Hotel Transylvania.
See?
So and I think Frankenstein was in there as well. I know he's a vampire, but I'm pretty sure Frankenstein shows up in there, doesn't he?
I believe so.
So maybe Adam Sandler has an obsession with Frankenstein.
I think he kind of does. And he's kind of... he had that Halloween movie that was on Netflix. I feel
Hubie Halloween,
yeah. I feel like Frankenstein's in that movie too.
Yeah, the Frankenstein weed.
I have to look
and then
that
the deer, the weed that will make you turn into a deer. Oh, too bad we have company. I would have trimmed my antlers. I love that scene. Again, not just the whole party scene to begin with, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Trim my antlers.
That did look like a really fun party. Everybody was having a good time.
Yeah, everyone having a great time. Like, Grandma, was just having a grand old time. She makes literal ice cream sandwiches. Did you notice that?
Yes. Ew.
Literal ice cream, like sandwiches, bread, lettuce, and then ice cream scoops on the inside.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
and then the Colonel, Colonel Cracker. Oh, I just wish you would come off the box and party with us. I must not be high enough for that. Well, then you don't get the Colonel. Where's Robert? So good.
And then we find that both Jeff and Barry get together with elder ladies. And Barry sucked her boob for like 13 hours. Which is weird.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, they're even there in the morning. Like, he's just eating breakfast while he's still stuck in her boob.
Yeah, I was like, did she have like a kid recently? And that's why he's doing it? Or he just stuck in her boob?
I guess just virginal, still stuck in her boob or something like that.
Yeah, that's weird.
And I love it when Samantha gets up and every time Push It comes on, I always sing it like this. Like, I can't not. Just to be like, push it real good. And then she falls over. I fucking love this girl.
See, when I think of Push It, I think of a different movie.
Yeah.
I think of Something Borrowed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So then the next day we find JP and he listens to his voicemail because they all decided to call him. And he hears it and I put JP short circuits.
He kind of does, actually.
Yeah. I feel like he needed to be rebooted. Oh, poor guy. But, don't be a dick to your coworkers.
Right? Then they won't treat you like crap.
Yeah.
They won't say mean things. So there's one thing, I forgot to look this up actually, but if you noticed in the party scene when they're doing the shots and she's like, oh yeah, Nana's boy.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that was originally supposed to be the title versus Grandma's boy.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually read that right before I got on the call with you. Yeah, that was supposed to be the original title. Yeah,
because I was like, I feel like it would just seem so weird for them to place Nana's boy and like that with the, like in Peter Griffin, where he's like, whenever they say the title in the movie, there it is. Yeah. There it is.
Well, what's really funny is I thought she said Grandma's boy. And so I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah. They said it. There it is.
Yeah. And I love when Jeff calls him when we find out that JP has stolen his game and he has told everybody that it's his and he quits and he gets high with Dante and Jeff calls him and he was like, your mom or your grandma's being attacked. And he's like, my grandma.
JP revealed himself to be an actual robot.
Yeah.
And I love it. He's like, I want you to take Frankenstein, the Hulk, the monster, but roll it up into one shit. No one's ever been brave enough to smoke that. He's like, one guy is. Roll it. I'll smoke it with you, bro. We'll go to the loony bin together. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, I did put that B walks around like Frankenstein when she gets high.
Yeah. When she gets high. because she got the Frankenstein weed.
Yeah.
I love it when Jeff does call. He's like, I quit there fucking months ago.
Yeah, it's been hours.
Yeah, for like an hour.
Now, would you try the pot that makes you shit your pants?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm sorry. There's nothing in the world that would make me want to shit my pants.
Like, even if you just really got like the best high, you'd be like, this is great. But then you shit your pants.
Like, I mean, I guess if I knew I was smoking this weed, I would obviously not go far from my house and just probably take my tablet to the bathroom and just sit on the toilet for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, maybe you'd have a nice release and feel, I guess,
like a new man.
You feel lighter?
It may be.
But no, I don't understand why this was a weed they thought.
I love that Barry's like, no, man, I already shit my pants this month. To justify why he didn't take it.
Why he didn't want to.
So is there
funny.
Any other part of this movie that you love, or is there a part that you hate, or anything you can't stand?
I mean, I don't think there's nothing in this movie I hate. Like, I don't think there's one part of it that I do not like. It is just so good. Oh, when he has the Kung Fu monkey and the guy's sitting there and he's like, is this guy going to rip my heart out of my chest and show it to me? And then the Kung Fu monkey, yeah, Kung Fu monkey!
Oh,
yeah, so it just...
I was going to say, I do love when Dante, when he says, yeah, I saw that lion just walking around, so I called the cops.
I looked up and there's the king of the jungle. Oh, Dante, just a classic. Oh, and then he's putting up his Christmas tree in July or something.
In June.
He's
like, oh, bro, no.
Right?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, just all around, this movie is so good. Yeah. There's not anything I don't not love about this movie.
It's pretty funny. Like I said, I hadn't seen it in a long time. I thought that I had it. Yeah. But I think for some reason in my head, I was getting this movie interlaced with Beer Fest, which are completely different movies. So I don't know why I had that in my head, but I do own Beer Fest. So
yeah. Which is funny because I remember I owned Grandma's Boy and I had it on DVD and then I lost it. And like I said, I was obsessed with the movie. So I had to go buy it again on DVD. So I've owned it twice on DVD. And then I bought it on Google TV or whatever. So now I have a digital copy of it. Because none of the streaming services had it at the time. And I really wanted to watch it. And I was like, I don't know where my DVD is. I don't know if it was packed away in a box or something. So I was like, screw it. I'll just buy it on. Because I'm like, again, I love the movie. I'm not going to watch it 100 times.
Yeah.
And so I bought it on Google TV. So I've bought this movie 3 times in my life.
I have bought at 4 different times Mighty Ducks, the full series. So my best friend, I bought it for her on VHS. And then years later,
right here,
I bought it on DVD for her. And then I did the same for myself. So I am an Anaheim Ducks fan because I had a huge crush on Charlie Conway. This shelf here is all Anaheim Duck stuff. This one here is actually like the old school jersey. I actually have almost all the jerseys in the closet over here as well. Oh, amazing.
I love so I have 2 jerseys that are actually from the 90s. One is my dad's. Yeah. He gave it to me because I was old. He got me one when I was a little kid. So like, I don't know. I think I got it in 96. That's when I got it. Because that was when the 3rd movie came out. And that's when I was really obsessed with Charlie Conway. Really obsessed with Josh Jackson. He was all moody and brooding. And he was just, he was so cute in that one. So I asked my dad for Christmas that year to get me the jersey. And so I got the white jersey. It has the C on it. And it has 96. But it does not have Conway. It just says 96. But then about 2 or 3 years ago for my birthday, when Alibaba and all of those AliExpress came out with the knockoff version, I have the District 5 with Charlie Conway and number 96 and all of it.
Oh, lucky. I don't have that.
They have been my team since the 90s and everyone has made fun of me for it, but I don't care. And they're like, well, why do you like the Ducks? And I was like, because I was a kid in the 90s and I loved the movies. And I have no shame in saying that.
Yeah. Well, I'm here in Texas, and you want to know whose team we have here? The Minnesota North Stars.
The North Stars, I know.
So, I mean, they're in the first movie, and then they're referenced in the third movie. So,
now, what did you think of the relaunch of this series?
I liked so I haven't seen the second season, but I actually really enjoyed the first one, the first season.
I agree. I did enjoy the first one. The second one, it has nothing. It was just a hockey thing and the same kids from the first one, but it had like nothing to do with the first one. It had no, there was no inklings to the original teams and stuff like that. Like no one was brought back, I don't think, in the second one. And it was. I
think it's because of COVID. It was done during COVID, right?
Yeah. And then Bombay dropped out as well. So that didn't help.
Yeah.
As soon as Emilio Estevez left, it was like, well, why are we watching this? What makes it the Ducks? Unless you bring Charlie Conway back, and he was doing something else, if I'm not mistaken. He's on another show right now.
So if you had to order your Mighty Ducks movies, which order do they go in?
Ooh,
because I have a very specific order in which they go in.
So I feel like my favorite is always still 2. There's just something about the second one that's so good. And then 3 because, like I said, he's just so cute in that one. And then number 1.
That's exactly the order I have them in as well.
Yes.
Yep. D2, D3, so D1.
Right? Because just like not that D1 is not good.
Yeah.
It's just they get. When people say that trilogies or sequels don't get better, these ones do.
Yes.
They get better as they go along.
For sure. But D2 is my favorite. Me and my best friend watched that movie every single weekend when we had a slumber party. If we weren't watching that, we were watching The Little Giants.
Yeah, my sister okay. So my sister loved Devon Sawa.
Yes.
And I loved so I call it the Jacksons because it was Jonathan and then Joshua Jackson. I loved them both. So Camp Nowhere was another one in their rotation. But yeah, Little Giants, like all the time we used to watch. Me and my sister, we loved it.
Yes.
It was so good.
Which is basically a football version of the Mighty Ducks.
Right? Exactly. It literally is.
Yeah.
Becky Icebox O'Shea. Oh, and Rick Moranis before he retired from acting. Oh, I love him.
I just covered that movie and it just came out today, actually, The Little Giants.
Oh, I'll check that one out because it's so good. Yeah. Little Giants.
Well, I know who to call when I want to do the Mighty Ducks because gotta have true.
I am all over
fans.
That one. Oh yeah. Fan to the core, fan to the. I even had the Mighty Ducks 2, the book when we were kids or whatever, the movie version of the book where they have inserts of it's the story and then they have little pictures from the movie or whatever. I don't know if I still have it. I think it's gone, but I remember having that as a kid as well.
I didn't know. I have no merchandise from Mighty Ducks and I love them so much.
Oh, I've got the hat up there. Yeah. Actually, this one. Okay, these ones are as you can see, these are my favorites.
That's amazing.
I don't know where I can't remember. I think I just found them on eBay or something, but I was like, I need to have these.
Yeah, I bought my friend a Charlie Conway shirt for her birthday or something years ago. So she has a shirt. I don't have a shirt with them.
Oh, you can find one again. It'll be good.
Well,
and I mean, now with AliExpress and that, you can get them for dirt cheap.
That's true. It's true. I could just make myself one, honestly. I have.
Right? With good old Cricut?
Yep. I got all the stuff to do it.
Same here. I love my Cricut.
Well, I'm not going to be surprised, I'm sure, but we need to rate this movie. And so how we rate our movies, we do it 1 through 10, and then we pick something from the movie. So let's just say you did a 7 out of 10, berries feeding on boobs, whatever you want to do it. So just something from the movie. So what would you rate this movie?
I would give it 10 out of 10 Robot GB voices.
I expected nothing less.
Right?
I'm going to have to give it a 7 out of 10 race car beds.
CB radios. Yeah.
Wow. This movie is so fun. It's not one that I normally gravitate towards.
Yeah.
But it's a fun movie.
Right. There's just like, you just watch it and you're just like, there's nothing that I can't, you're just happy kind of watching all of it. It's just whether you're like, this is silly, this is stupid. That's kind of the whole point of the movie too, as well, is like, it's okay to be silly or stupid or like, it's just all of it is good.
It was like, it's an appetizer for Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
Like, if you were doing a baked double feature, you would start with that one and then you would watch Pineapple Express, I feel.
And if you wanted to throw it in there as well, a little bit of half-baked as well.
Yeah, maybe that's the dessert.
Right, the dessert, some dessert of half-baked. That one's a little partial because it was filmed in Toronto. So we're like, Canadian made. And Dave Chappelle, like, he's just so good,
Right.
He's a classic. So good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can our listeners find you?
Oh, thank you for having me. It was super fun. You can find us on Instagram at Turn of the Millennials Pod. And then I believe you can find us, I think we're on most of them at this point. So like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google Podcasts. I believe we're on most of them at this point. And it's just Turn of the Millennials Podcast. And you just search and you can find us. I think that's one I have to update our YouTube, but most of the old ones are on YouTube. I have to update some of the new ones.
I haven't put anything on YouTube. I have some. It's too difficult.
I like to go on, load it into the website, and they distribute the rest of them. I have to actually do YouTube myself, so it's a lot of work. That's why I was like, I'm behind on them.
Exactly, right? It's difficult. Because we don't record video, we just do the audio, and trying to like convert it and all this. Bleh. So like ours, we record video, but we never use the video. It's just the streaming, like the platform we use will generate a video for you. So basically, it's just like your little logo and then a video of your audio. Like, oh, okay, that works, sure. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. And you can find us at Two Chicks Talkin Flicks on all platforms. We do have a TikTok. And if you want to write in and tell us what your favorite way that the Mighty Ducks movie should be ordered, let us know at twoochickstalkinflicks@gmail.com. And until next time, toodles. This episode was produced by Two Chicks Talkin Flicks. Music was produced by Michael Girvani. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to be a part of the show, have a movie suggestion, or just want to give us some love, you can email us at twoochickstalkinflicks@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. Toodles.